All right, let's get right into it. We're going to break down what is really a masterclass in how to take a national tragedy and turn it into raw political power. It all started with this one line: "You have no idea what you have just unleashed." It's powerful, it's kind of vague, and it became the opening shot for one of the most fascinating political performances we've seen in a long, long time. So what did she actually mean by that? Well, that's what we're going to unpack here. We're going to look at this town hall not as just some interview, but as a very carefully constructed performance. A performance designed from the ground up to take control of a story that was spinning out into the public. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with turning tragedy into political power, then look at how the narrative was crafted. After that, we'll see how hard questions were handled, how the moral high ground was claimed, and finally, we'll lay out the full Persuasion playbook. All right, first section, tragedy into political power. Let's really dig into how a deeply personal tragedy was turned into a national media event, and so quickly. Now, you really have to look at this timeline. September 10th, the assassination. September 12th, an arrest. And then, bam! By December 13th, just 3 months later, Erika Kirk is center stage in a primetime town hall. That's speed. That's not an accident. That is absolutely a strategic decision.
And right from the jump, the host, Bari Weiss, sets the entire frame for the evening with this line. She basically says, this is about words versus violence. And that simple idea becomes the lens through which you're supposed to view everything that follows.
Okay, next up, crafting the narrative. So how do you actually build this thing? Well, it all starts with controlling the language, right from the very first words out of her mouth.
And this is the first move in the playbook, and it's a brilliant one. Remember that word unleashed? Most people hear that and think, a political threat, right? Rallying the troops, maybe even violence. But no, she immediately redefines it. For her, unleashed means a spiritual revival, the Holy Spirit moving to wake people up. She took a potentially negative word and completely flipped it into a divine mission.
The next step? You elevate the conflict. This isn't just a political disagreement anymore, about policies or ideas. No, it gets reframed as a moral battle, a fight against people who aren't just wrong, but are sick and evil. Suddenly, political opponents are transformed into moral enemies. It's not about politics, it's about good versus evil.
Okay, section 3, navigating hard questions. Now this is where the strategy really shines. When you're under the lights and the tough questions start coming, what do? Let's break it down.
So, of course, they bring up some of Charlie Kirk's most controversial statements. Things like calling the Civil Rights Act a mistake or his comment about black pilots. These are tough, right? And her response is a textbook example of a classic PR move. And what's that move? You don't defend the substance of what was said. You can't really. Instead, you attack the process. You blame the media. The argument becomes, my husband is not to be deteriorated to 2 sentences. The goal is to make the media the bad guy for even bringing it up, for using 15-second clips and taking him out of context. You see? You shift the blame completely.
Now watch this pivot. It's a work of art. Step 1, the challenge, a direct question about Donald Trump's rhetoric. It's a political minefield. So, step 2, the pivot. This is so much deeper than just one person. You zoom out, you make it bigger than the specific person she was asked about. And then, step 3, the reframe. This starts at the home. Parents step up. And just like that, a tough question about a political figure is magically transformed into a broad, totally safe critique of modern parenting. Nobody can argue with that, right? Genius.
Okay, our next section is all about claiming the moral high ground. This was done through 2 really key moments, one of confrontation and one of forgiveness. So she gets asked about people like Candace Owens who are spreading conspiracy theories about her husband's death, and what would she say to them? Her entire answer was just one word: stop. That's it. It is so powerful because it doesn't engage, it doesn't argue, it just shuts the whole conversation down. It denies those theories any more air to breathe.
And then comes the ultimate move for moral authority: forgiveness. But again, notice the redefinition. Forgiveness in this context doesn't mean condoning the act or letting the killer off the hook. Oh no. It's framed as a strategic move for herself, a way to release herself from the enemy's hands. She gets to claim the high ground of forgiveness while still demanding earthly justice. It's pretty much an unassailable position.
All right, let's put it all together. The Persuasion playbook. When you boil all this down, what are the actual techniques we just watched? What's the formula here?
Here it is, the whole playbook in 5 simple steps. First, you control the frame. Define words like unleashed on your own terms. Second, you moralize the mission. It's not politics, it's a spiritual battle. Third, you redirect hard questions. Pivot away from specifics, like Trump, to broad topics, like parenting. Fourth, you apply asymmetric standards. You can condemn your enemies harshly, but you deflect when it comes to your allies. And finally, number 5, you perform moral authority. You do things like offering public forgiveness to make yourself impossible to attack. This is the blueprint.
So once you see this playbook, you really can't unsee it. It gives you a whole new way to watch any political communication. And it leaves you with this one really important question to ask yourself next time you're watching a town hall or an interview. Are you actually watching a real exchange of ideas? Or are you watching a performance, a very polished performance that is simply designed to win?